second start for him at first base. His teammate from Philadelphia, the Phillies, comprising three-quarters of the infield, Manny Trillo, who's from Venezuela, and his countryman, the only non-Phil in the National League infield from the Cincinnati Reds, Davey Concepcion. No stranger to all-star games. Around at third, the man with the home run in Cleveland last year to give the National League another victory, Mike Schmidt, MVP in the NL in 80 and 81. The Expo, Tim Raines, who has seen a good deal of action at second base this season, is playing left field. He's back there now during the regular season, too. His teammate, Andre Dawson, got that tremendous ovation, is in center field. And around and right, the Atlanta Braves' great star, Dale Murphy, leading the majors in home runs. At the All-Star break, you've got Gary Carter, recognized now as baseball's premier catcher, back of the plate. And the fourth Expo in the starting lineup, Steve Rogers, having a good season, 10-4. As you can see, he has very good control. It's been that way throughout his career, only 36 walks and 143 innings plus. So Rogers gets his first All-Star game start, and he'll get underway by facing Rickey Henderson of the Oakland A's and Fred Lynn of the California Angels and George Brett of the Kansas City Royals. Rickey Henderson, if he stays healthy by the middle of August or thereabouts, will break Lou Brock's record, 118 steals, and he'll do it with about 40 games to play. He's on that sort of a pace right now as we get underway, and the first pitch misses for a ball, 1-0.
Well, you talked about Rogers having good control. He will have to have good control to work to Rickey Henderson because he has an excellent eye. He's already walked 81 times this year.
Henderson lining it by Dave Concepcion for a base hit. So everybody in the park knows what will happen next. Billy Martin says he's going to try to run, and if he's going to try to run, there's the man to do it. He has 84 steals in 88 games. His 84 steals have come in 107 attempts. What's happened quite often is that Henderson has been picked off and then has proceeded on to second base, been thrown out there for a caught stealing. So Henderson at first with nobody out, first inning. Fred Lynn, who's been hitting 6th or 7th for the most part for the Angels this season, batting in the second spot tonight. Henderson, good-sized lead, and Rogers, after throwing there once, stepping off the rubber.
Well, you've got to keep an eye on him. There's no question about that. Those 84 stolen bases are not flukes in any way.
Rogers comes to the plate, and Lynn with a full rip and a miss. Freddie's been hot. He's hit 6 home runs in his last 13 games. Pierre Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, who welcomed us tonight.
Spent some time with him at lunch today, just prior to the commissioner's luncheon. Recounted old times, the 76 Olympics. Rabid sports fan.
Rogers again meeting business.
Rogers, the type of pitcher, he's really not necessarily a sinker ball pitcher. He's a pressure type pitcher as far as finger pressure is concerned with his fastball. He'll make it sail or slide.
He doesn't go, and Lynn hits it high in the air to right center field. Dawson takes command, makes the catch for the out. So Henderson not on the move yet. Lynn is gone, one away, and up comes George Brett.
Well, one of the reasons, although Billy Martin doesn't necessarily go by this theory when he has Rickey Henderson at first base, you've got the left-hand hitters up there, and you'd like to try and keep that hole for him to hit through on the right side if you possibly can. You got Henderson, the right-hander, followed by Lynn, Brett, and Jackson, and then Cooper. So you've got 4 coming behind him.
Freddie Lynn has been hot. George Brett has not. Brett, who was up well over 300, is down now at, I say down, at 301. He's hit only 195, however, during the month of July. Henderson at first base with 1 out in the top of the first inning.
Yeah, he's thinking about you.
Henderson at first. There's his mom, Bobby Henderson. Her son playing in his second All-Star game. He was a member of the team, not a starter, though, in 1980. And there he goes. He gets a good jump, but Brett fouls it away. So he would have had it easily, but George was swinging, and the count is 0-1. Henderson, if he continues his pace, he would wind up with 155 steals in 162 games.
You know, I think you mentioned the key right there, if he stays healthy. And that doesn't mean where he's going to get hurt and be out of the lineup. But I can remember when Maury Wills stole the 104 bases. He was bumped and bruised all over at the end of the year. He was really hurt.
It's an amazing record because Cobb held the record at 96 for so long, and people said that'll never be broken. And then Wills did it. And they said it would never be broken, and Brock obliterated it. And Henderson is on his way to obliterating Brock's mark. 1-1 the count.
The thing about Henderson, too, when you watch him, he is not the feet-first type slider. He's the head-first type slider, so he can beat himself up pretty good. He's got to have some strong hands out there.
Ricky, a couple of years ago with 100 steals. The American League mark. There he goes again, and Brett goes to left field for a base hit. Henderson tentatively around second and holds there as Ranger's throw comes into Schmidt.
But he took the wide turn looking for the throw behind him in the hope of running to third very quickly.
It's also, at this time of night, it is very tough to pick the ball up. And when Ricky got down there and heard the contact made, he looked up and he could not pick the ball up. And he was kind of in no man's land then. And he said, well, I'll just go here. And that's about as far as I can go.
Reggie Jackson has one All-Star game home run, and if you saw it, you'll never forget it. 1971, Detroit off Doc Ellis. Pinched it in the third inning. And did it not make contact with the light standard, it might still be going. Mammoth shot. Reggie up with 2 on and 1 out. And it gets away from Carter. Bouncing toward the dugout. Henderson, a short turn rounding third and holds there as Brett moves into second.
Take one more peek at it. Here's the pitch down in the dirt, the breaking pitch, and Carter has it. Hits the side almost of the plate over there and then kicks over on the third base side. And Carter's going to get on that ball in a hurry to keep it from rolling in the dugout.
Wild pitch. It's ruled with Henderson at third. Brett now at second. The infield plays back. The count 1 ball and no strikes on Reggie Jackson. Reggie going the other way and looping it foul.
That's one of the big things that Reggie's been doing lately. He will go the other way with you. He got out there at California, and I think Reggie would be the first one to tell you he was trying to do things that even Reggie Jackson can't do. All of a sudden, after a little slow start, he got his feet on the ground. He started just making good, solid contact, and he's got power to hit it out of any part of the ballpark.
He's been hot.
As the graphic just showed, 13 home runs in the recent days. Feeling pretty good about himself, but being very careful not to gloat. Walking a political tightrope in his mind.
Jackson, after the 2-1 pitch, goes a long way the other way, curling into the corner and going foul.
And just barely.
Right there, it gives you a little idea of the power that Reggie does have. It's 335 down both lines here. Check that, 325. It's 375 to the power alley and 404 feet to straightaway center field.
Reggie Jackson, now 36 years old. Oldest starter for the American League. The youngest, Henderson, is the runner at third, and Brett is at second. And Jackson takes just inside. Crowd moaning. 3-2.
You've got a man behind there, I think, is one of the finest umpires in all of baseball. And Doug Harvey, that pitch right there, and Harvey looking right over the shoulder of Gary Carter. That's a close pitch.
So 3-2 on Reggie, with Cooper waiting on deck, fouled away again.
Remember the toughest call of Doug Harvey's life? The meeting with National League President Chubb Feeney.
That's right, down in
the
Houston.
playoffs in Houston against Philadelphia. That best sustained dramatic season maybe in the history of baseball. Was it a triple play or a double play?
They ended up the double play.
3-2 to Jackson, foul away again. Interesting note in regard to the umpires as you take a look at Reggie's mom, Clara, coming up to watch her son, who makes this an annual visit. The All-Star game for Reggie. The umpires, for the first time this year, chosen not on a rotation basis, as had been the case, but on merit this year. Jackson hitting it to center field and deep but playable for Dawson. That'll score Henderson easily. And Brett holds at second, so the American League is on top 1-0. So a couple of singles, the wild pitch, the sacrifice fly, 2 down now. Cooper coming up. You've got 3 umpires from each league. Doug Harvey, the National League veteran behind the plate. Marty Springstead at first base, American. McSherry of the National at second. McKean, who's from here in Montreal, at third base. Eddie Montague of the National League down the line and left. And Mike Riley of the American down the line and right.
Coming to the plate, the man who at the moment might be the hottest hitter in baseball.
Oh, the Milwaukee Brewers, they are just beating on everybody.
Still very much the best-kept secret in baseball. Cecil Cooper, who just does his job and does it very well year after year. Pulling it, foul.
In one of the remarkable trades of all time, the Brewers got Cecil Cooper basically in exchange for George Scott, who's now, remember George, the big, burly right-handed hitter who's now playing in Mexico. I'll never forget, Commissioner Bowie Kuhn was needling Bud Selig, the Brewers owner. He said, how much cash did you have to give?
0-1 on Cooper. Cooper, by the way, is getting the start because Rod Carew has tendinitis of the right hand. Carew would have been the American League starter at first base, but instead it's Cooper, and Andre Thornton of Cleveland was named to the team in Carew's stead. It's Luke down the line in left field. Foul.
Well, when Cecil Cooper comes back, and you mention those 2 names, Rod Carew and Cecil Cooper, Cecil has had long conversations with Carew and talked to him about just the art of hitting. And you're going to see a little bit of Rod Carew in that stance of Cecil Cooper.
Well, since Rod has 28 different stances, there's Henry Aaron. Hammerin' Henry, the man who hit the plethora of home runs against Don Dryden.
Did you see the winder shutter? That picture came up on the screen.
I know that face. I've seen it in my sleep.
And he still says you were the hardest pitcher for him ever to face. Isn't that something?
Well, you know, in 14 years, I never missed that darn Brave lineup. And Henry was right in the middle of it. You'd say to Walt Olson every now and then, well, you know, Skip, you know, you might want to miss something sometime. But he said, nope, you're going out there.
A look around spacious Olympic Stadium, Montreal. Ballpark opened for baseball in 1977. No balls, 2 strikes. Cooper with a new bat. Chops it by the mound. Going to be a tough play for Trio, and he does not get it. So Cooper, who has decent speed, is aboard at first as Brett moves along to third. Third hit in the inning for the American League, and up comes Coop's teammate, Robin Yount.
Well, Cecil Cooper has much better than average speed, and when those left-handers come out of that box and they can smell a base hit, they just have a little more acceleration. A good play by Trio, but Cooper just flat beats it, that's all.
So, Steve Rogers struggling in the first inning. This is the first time since 1960, when Whitey Ford did it, that a pitcher has started the All-Star game in his own home park.
The year before that, in '59, it was Don Drysdale who started in Los Angeles.
A game better forgotten from the Drysdale point of view. No matter.
I would rather remember the first one in '59 and skip the second one.
That's where they played, too.
But the last man to win in his own home park was Johnny Vandermeer. In '38, the year he pitched the consecutive no-hitters.
1-1 the count. There's a graphic illustrating just that. Got to go back 22 years to Whitey Ford. Rogers, one of 4 Expos in the starting lineup tonight. 1-1 on Robin Yount, who takes inside. 2-1 the count. Robin Yount having a great season, not only defensively at shortstop, average-wise, hitting .327, but power. He's homered 15 times this season, including one into the upper deck in right field in Chicago last week. 2-2 the count. So Rogers even 2-2. Yeah, and it wouldn't figure for a shortstop, but he leads the American League in slugging percentage and in total bases. Ball 3.
Well, I think he's definitely right in line for the most valuable player if he continues anything that he's doing right now. He is just having a super year, as you mentioned, and you could see, I can remember him when he came up at 19 years old, and it was just a matter of time when this young man was going to really put his name in baseball.
Still only 26 and in his 9th season as he fouls it away.
A lot of baseball people feel that this is the best all-around player in the game today. Michelle Yount, his wife, as you look at her.
There's a man who thought about becoming a pro golfer about 5 or 6 years ago. 3-2 pitch, got him swinging. So the inning is over, but the American League gets on the board. What a shot. Looking down from the Goodyear Blimp, Olympic Park, Olympic Stadium. The centerpiece, a run, 3 hits, leave 2 after a half. The American League won, and the National League. The American League defensively, Ron Carew would have been there, but he is not at the game. Tendinitis. Cecil Cooper is the first baseman. Bobby Grich, several great seasons at Baltimore, and now at California, is the second baseman. And we saw make the last out in the top of the inning of the Brewers. There's Robin Yount, and right next to him, Kansas City's premier third baseman, George Brett. Winning in the bowling again. Ricky Henderson, who got aboard, came in to score in the top of the inning of Oakland. Is in left field. You've got Freddie Lynn, several great seasons with Boston, now with California. In center, and Reggie Jackson around in right. Back of the plate, number 72 of the Chicago White Sox, Carlton Fisk. And on the mound for the American League, Dennis Eckersley of the Boston Red Sox. He, like Rogers, exceptional control with just 23 walks halfway through the season. So Eckersley with 9 victories getting the start. Interesting in the selection of pitchers for the American League that they would bypass 7 pitchers with 10 or more wins this season.
Well, that's very true. And when you look at the last performance of each of the American League staff, of all their pitchers, they have a combination of a record of 0-6 and an earned run average of 10.8. But, of course, that was their last time out. This is a whole new ball game, an all-star game, and you know that adrenaline's flowing out there.
Tim Raines of Montreal with great speed started the season and played his rookie season last year and left. And they wanted to get a youngster by the name of Terry Francona into the lineup every day, so they put Raines at second. And Francona got hurt, and so Tim was very happy about going out to left field again. That's where he's playing currently. Brett to lay one down. Brett in shadow at third. 1-1 the count. Tommy Lasorda, he was a great minor league star here in Montreal. He was an obscure major league pitcher, but he was big stuff here. And with Sparky Anderson on the left, Billy Martin managing the American League. An interesting story in itself because of what happened last season. 2-1 the count. Sparky perhaps positioning players in that shot. We saw Anderson motioning Sparky for many years. Of course, the manager of the Cincinnati Reds, and has a little better knowledge than Martin would of what National League hitters are likely to do. 3-1. Martin getting the nod because Bob Lemon had managed the Yankees into the World Series last year after Gene Michael had been fired, and then Lem was fired. So for a change, Martin replaces Lemon by virtue of the fact that Billy won the American League West last year. Raines hitting it foul. Bring it to Virginia.
This Raines, yes indeed.
One of the things about Tim, he's got 39 stolen bases this year, but he came out of spring training hurting, and he got off to a slow start as far as the stolen base department is concerned, because he can steal bases on you too. He's got excellent speed, but he's healthy now.
Eckersley strikes him out. One gone in the first inning. Raines is gone, and here is Pete Rose, who plays the same way during the regular season, the All-Star game, post, you name it. In March, in Bradenton, he played the same way. Pete's numbers for the season is averaged a little bit below what it would normally be. There's Carlton. Steve Carlton will be the next National League pitcher. Tom was sort of hopeful that Rogers could go 3, and then we see Carlton. Rose lining it to left field, but right at Ricky Henderson. 2 up and 2 down in the bottom of the first inning. And a big ovation upcoming as Andre Dawson makes his way to the plate.
One of the many stars of a Montreal team that seems to be supercharged with personnel, but is not producing on the ball field in the pennant race the way expected.
Andy Dawson, prior to last Monday night, he did not even swing a bat or do anything 6 days prior. He was hurt. He was not in the lineup, and they've got to have this big guy in the lineup if they're going to do anything. Now Doug Harvey pointing out at something and calling time, second straightaway center field, moving a person around out there.
Eckersley working on Dawson, starts him with a strike, and the count is 0-1.
Eckersley, you see, he'll drop from the side. You really have to like Denny because he comes right at you. He does not fool around. He doesn't have a lot of finesse out there. He'll just bear down and come and get you a fastball and a good curveball.
Pop to shallow right field. Here comes Reggie, and that's that. So a 1-2-3 inning for Eckersley. At the end of 1, the American League leading the National League 1-0. Great all-star moments are something all ball players remember the rest of their lives. Hall of Famer Stan Musial remembers his winning home run in 1955. Second inning, American League leading 1-0. Bottom of the order, Bobby Grich, Carlton Fisk, and Dennis Eckersley. Grich, Bobby at the age of 33, playing in his 6th All-Star game. 3rd time he started. Started at shortstop in the All-Star game back in '72 when he was with Baltimore. 2-0.
Carlton Fisk on deck. Controversy seems to follow him everywhere. More on that in a moment. White Sox, subject of a lot of print medium stuff. Steve not happy perhaps with the call on that pitch.
3-0 pitch is in for a strike. Rogers is prone. Sometimes you don't know if he's happy or what. He's prone to a lot of grimacing and facial contortions on the mound. Even when he's working on a perfect game, he goes through them. 3-2.
Highly thoughtful, intelligent man, Rogers. Absorbs information like a sponge. Witnessed his role in the baseball players' strife last year. Wound up knowing almost as much law as the people representing the players.
And called strike 3.
All right, back to Carlton Fisk. Carlton Fisk had something to say about the firing of Schuler, the pitching coach with the White Sox. I discussed this mess involving pitching coach Schuler and the circumstances under which he left.
Well, I don't know all the particulars in that event, but I do recognize one fact, and possibly more than that Ron Schuler was good for the Chicago White Sox. I think he did an excellent job with the young pitching staff that he had to work with. They weren't pitching as well as the organization had expected them to up until this point, so they used Ron Schuler as a scapegoat, and the way they handled it was particularly appalling as far as my view of it.
That's what you call an outspoken fella. Don, you're working for the White Sox these days. You agree with his evaluation of his management?
It was not handled in the best way. There's no question about that, and I think management is very sorry about the way the whole thing transpired. And by the way, just going along a little bit further on that, the White Sox today announced that they have hired Ken Silvestri, who is in their minor league system, and he will be their pitching coach right now through the rest of the year, and then I guess they will sit back and wait.
You saw Fisk fly out to center, and Eckersley bounces one toward Trio. The smooth Manny throws him out, and a 1-2-3 inning for Rogers. The American League on in order. We played 1.5 in Montreal. The American League won, and the National League nothing. Mike Schmidt to lead things off for the National League, hitting cleanup from the Philadelphia Phillies. One of the great moments in his career came here, late 1980, a home run late in a game that turned out to be the pennant clinching game, or the division clinching game for the Philadelphia Phillies. They went on to beat Houston in the scintillating National League Championship Series, and of course on to the World Series, and defeated Kansas City in 6. Mike Schmidt, who normally hits 4th in the Philadelphia order. It's interesting, the National League lineup, the way it is tonight, the first 5 guys are hitting in the same spots in which they normally hit. Raines leads off for Montreal. Rose normally bats 2nd for Philadelphia. Dawson normally hits 3rd for Montreal. Schmidt 4th for Philadelphia. And Gary Carter on deck, normally the 5th place hitter for the Expos. Mike has been bothered by a slight muscle pull in his hamstring. It's conceivable that he'll come out of the game after this one at bat. Now, we talked about the pitchers they've left off.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
All of those men are not on the American League All-Star team. All of them. 0-2.
You realize Vukovich of Milwaukee in his last 32 decisions has won 25 times. Only Valenzuela has won more games in that span. He's not on the team.
Well, Tommy Lasorda said he's going to sit down and write all the players that he thought should be here, just write them a letter of apology. But I think both managers stated it very well, that you can only take so many, and somebody's going to get left off, and there's always going to be some feelings hurt.
Not only leaving off the 7 biggest winners, but they've left off the top 6 fellas in terms of ERA this year. Schmidt pops it up in foul ground. Fisk flipping the mask away, makes the catch.
I love to watch Carlton Fisk play. I love to hear him express. After he told me the management's behavior was appalling, I said, "You looking to move again? Maybe you want to go back to Boston." He said, "No, I've had enough moving, but I got to say what I think."
His opposite number, Gary Carter, leading vote getter this season. For years, they used to talk about, well, someday Carter is going to be the premier catcher. He'll be better than Bench. That day is now. Of course, Johnny's at 3rd.
Well, that's true. You know, it's amazing that the 2 vote getters, the 2 leading vote getters, I've got in a moment, Bobby Grich throws him out, but the 2 leading vote getters were the 2 catchers. Fisk in the American League and Gary Carter overall.
And here was Gary earlier receiving the trophy, symbolizing the receiving of more votes than any other player, led in the balloting back of the plate all the way. Dale Murphy, fellow not too many people have heard about up until this season, but of course the Braves have changed that in a hurry, the way they are playing. Murphy having a great season. As you look at Yogi Berra, the honorary captain of the American League. Murphy leading the majors in home runs with 23.
Well, I think Dale would be the first one to tell you that the positioning in the lineup as far as the Atlanta Braves are concerned has really helped him. He's hitting ahead of Horner, and of course he's getting a few more pitches to hit now than what he would in the past, more so than if he was, say, hitting behind him.
3-0 the count.
And another thing there, you look at the National League home run leaders, Murphy on top, Kingman, Carter, Horner, Thompson, and Clark, and you can see Horner right there with 18, so that's a pretty good 1-2 punch they have down in Atlanta. But another big thing that helped him when they took the catcher's gear away from him.
People forget that. Started back at the plate. Ball 4. So Murphy becomes the National League's first base runner. Dale at first base with 2 down in the second inning. The American League on top 1-0. And Dave Concepcion coming up. Davey hitting .293 this year with a home run and 34 runs back then, and one of the few bright spots in a for Cincinnati. The season that Reds fans haven't experienced, I don't know, since Doubleday was around, I suppose. It seems that long.
Well, they've lost a lot of RBIs over there.
Concepcion wrapping it foul. Off to the right. 0-1 the count.
There's Yaz. You're right about the lost RBIs, but that's a little deceptive. It was time for Cincinnati to rebuild, but they were counting on 2 of the elder statesmen, Seaver and Bench, and it's their failure to come through that's caused the dismal nature of their current record. Some of the youngsters are doing pretty well there, and Dreesen's having an excellent year.
Well, somewhere along the line, you got to draw the line. You got to say, we have to try and start rebuilding a little bit. See what we have in the minor league.
Interesting that on a team that's always been offensively dominated, they put pitchers on the National League staff, and Mario Soto and Tom Hume. They pitch out. Nothing happening. 1-1. To deep left field and into the corner and out of here. Dave Concepcion hitting it right down the line, just there and gone.
Well, they got a pitch up in his wheelhouse, and he really turned on it, and that ball got out of here in a hurry.
A man who always had a marvelous glove as a rookie. They knew about his defense. They wondered about him offensively. Over the years, he's really come on.
There you see the sinker from the middle of the plate in and up, and there's nothing that will go farther than high sinkers. I can attest to that.
So the National League assumes the lead. 2-1, 2 out, bases empty. Manny Trio of the Philadelphia Phillies taken outside ball 1. Eckersley has been prone to giving up home runs this season. He's given up 15. Interestingly, Concepcion had only 1 regular season home run coming in tonight. 2-0 the count. Manny Trio, formerly with the Cubs, then on to Philadelphia. There's Concepcion, the happy one in the National League dugout.
Al, it's really nice to go to an all-star game. It's quite an honor, number one, and it's a thrill to be there. And it's amazing how you can get in that clubhouse in the course of one day, and all of a sudden, after you're fighting each other tooth and nail at the first half of the season and again at the second half, that one day you can get together as one.
After a visit from Billy Martin, Trio fouls it away. 2-1. Trio, interestingly, this season, he's made just 1 error. The first time he touched the ball this year, opening day against the Mets, he was charged with an error. None since. Grounded to short. Robin Yount. Over to Cooper, and that's that. In the second inning, 2 runs, 1 hit, the homer by Concepcion. Nobody left on. We've played 2 at Olympics. League 2. American League 1. What a fabulous sight. Al Michaels, Howard Cosell, Don Drysdale, Keith Jackson, Bob Uecker with us as you look down from the Goodyear Blimp, and now up at the Goodyear Blimp, piloted tonight by Warner Roth from Cocoa Beach, Florida. 5-day trip up here. What a marvelous evening. Great day. Temperature very comfortable, mid-70s. Humidity is low. Great feeling in this town. They've waited for this one as you look at Jim Clancy of the Toronto Blue Jays. They'll start to throw.
You know, that could have been something. You'd have had Rogers starting for the National League and Clancy from the American League. I mean, conceivably, that could have happened to Canadian pitchers.
Conceivably, but Clancy comes off his possibly worst outing of the year.
I saw that the other day. He was not happy with that over in Toronto against the White Sox.
That was the 16-7 lambasted.
Ricky Henderson with a 1-strike count. Now a 2-strike count. 0-2. George Brett will be up third in the inning. He singled in the first, as did Henderson. Ricky coming in to score on a sacrifice fly by Jackson. 1-2.
First inning was key for Rogers. There's Ray Knight in at third, having a super year. Al had mentioned Schmidt's slightly pulled hamstring, so Mike's out.
And grounded down to Knight, who gets some immediate action. Guns it over to Pete Rose, the man that Knight had replaced a couple of years back at Cincinnati. And Pete opted to go to Philadelphia, Ray with the Reds, and then on to Houston in the Cedeno deal.
Seems to me that first inning may be a key to this whole ball game. Rogers in trouble. 1 run in. They had been hitting him effectively. 3 hits in the inning. And in the clutch, he struck out Robin Yount, leaving 2 on.
Freddie Lynn flied out his first trip. Gets fooled, comes around, doesn't get it. 0-1. The commissioner, Bowie Kuhn, and Prime Minister Trudeau of Canada looking on from their box. Quickly 0-2.
Rogers has got that very easy motion, and he certainly has a much better than average fastball, which has got to add to his advantage. And I said before, he's the type of pitcher, he uses finger pressures on that fastball. Look out. That got away. But he'll have it sail one way, then he'll put a little pressure on another finger and have it tail the other way. And he's got the curveball and the slider.
Been very, very consistent through the years. 1-2 to Lynn. As a change, grounded sharply, but Rose is right there. Pete will do it himself. And that's 6 straight. Set down by Rogers. Dee Dee Lynn. Watching her husband now, who's 0 for 2. George Brett. Single to left field in the first inning. National League 2, American League 1. National League winners of 10 straight, 18 of the last 19. And on top here.
Just an incredible, mystifying statistic.
You're talking about the 214 average of Brett. A lot of times, though, you get out there, Howard, and you run across those National League pitchers that go out there, and they don't make a lot of mistakes if they're right that particular night, and that can make it awfully tough.
Looking in from right field. That Brett, who uses the whole field. Two and 1 to count.
A couple of different hitting theories right here. We talked about Cecil Cooper and talking with Rod Carew, and of course George Brett is the great pupil of batting coach Charlie Lau of the Chicago White Sox.
Two and 2 to count.
Still, Georgie has had a cold bat, as you've said. There's Reg on deck. And there's a fella sitting on the bench who leads the major leagues in base hits with 107. His name is Hara, Toby Hara.
2 and 2 the count.
Well, you know, Hara's going to see some action. There's no question about that. But Billy Martin has to be a little concerned as you see Fernando Valenzuela. But the thing about Yount, the shortstop, he's got a little slight leg pull, and Billy's a little bit concerned about him, how he's going to weather the storm out here tonight. So he's got to use Hara. It's short if indeed Brett can't make it.
Bouncing ball, Trio can only wave at it as it goes on out into center field, and so Brett is 2 for 2, and it's the 4th hit for the American League, all singles.
I should say if Yount can't make it, so it's just going to be, there's 3 guys that are a little ouchy. Mike Schmidt has come out. Leon Durham of the Chicago Cubs. And, of course, the man we just talked about, Robin Yount.
Poor Durham, you had to feel sorry for him in the pregame introductions. Flew up with a excited, as you might suspect, to be in an all-star game. And then you have to be introduced after Al Oliver. So the crowd's going insane and nobody hears you. Reggie Jackson popping. The base hit by Brett. They strained him. We played 2.5 at Olympic Stadium in Montreal. Nationals 2, Americans 1. Coming up at the All-Star game. Let's get downstairs to Bob Uecker with Mike Schmidt. Uecker.
All right, Al, thank you very much. Mike, early season injuries have plagued you, and tonight, a bit of a hamstring problem?
Yeah, I'm out of shape a little bit, I guess, Bobby. I'm doing my best to get back in shape and have a healthy second half, which starts Thursday, and I owe it to my teammates and my team to be able to play hard on Thursday.
Mike, you voiced some opinion about being voted into the All-Star game. Your honest opinion, do you think you should?
Well, I think the fans are voting for the guys they want to see start the ball game. If the criterion for voting is to vote for the guy with the best statistics, obviously I don't have the best, and I'm out of the game now, and the 2 guys with better statistics than me, the fans are going to see in the rest of the game.
Would you have voted for yourself?
No, probably, because I'm the type of guy that I've been in this position when P. Rose used to play third base. I always used to have to sit and watch him play 4 or 5 innings, and I had the best statistics. So they'll get their chance. Ray Knight and Bob Horner will play a good ball game, I guarantee you.
Al, I never had that problem. Back to you.
I know it. Very well aware of that fact. Bottom of the 3rd inning, and Rupert Jones of the San Diego Padres pinch hits for Steve Rogers, who is finished under All-Star rules. Starting pitcher can work 3 innings. Rogers finished there, and Rupert Jones leads off by hitting one to deep right center field. Reggie Jackson going back, and it's off the wall, and Reggie has a long run to play the carom. Jones with good speed coming toward third. They will stop him there.
Right there, look at Rupert Jones and look at Dennis Eckersley, but really Rupert Jones. Part of the story, one of the biggest stories in baseball this year. That's Dennis Eckersley's wife, obviously. She's not too happy about the trend of events. But the San Diego Padres and Rupert Jones, a former Yankee, one of so many brilliant trades engineered by the unsung Jack McKeon. The Padres within 2 games of the Atlanta Braves at the All-Star break. And who would have picked that at the start of the season? Who would have talked about Jones and Tim Lawler and all of the other players they have gotten? Before this season is over, McKeon may become one of the dominant figures in all of baseball.
Well, not only that, Dick Williams has done a great job with him. They know the style and the brand of baseball that Dick Williams expects, and he's getting it.
Tim Raines, the batter, takes a strike. Raines struck out in the 1st inning, so Jones at 3rd. The American League infield up at 1st and 3rd, and halfway at short and 2nd. Rupert, nearly an inside-the-park home run. John McNamara, the 3rd base coach and the manager of the Cincinnati Reds, all the way down near home plate before he finally put up his hands.
Johnny McNamara might be one of the better 3rd base coaches in the game of baseball because he's been out there quite a while before he became a manager, and he's excellent. Really on that ball out there, Reggie at the last moment looked at Freddie Lynn cutting across, and then it short hopped the wall and kicked back by him.
2-1 the count on Raines. Steve Rogers, by the way, the scoring rule that the starting pitcher has to go 5 to get a win is obviously waived in an All-Star game, so if the Nationals are never headed, Rogers would get the W. 3-1 the count. National League leading 2-1 on the strength of a home run by Dave Concepcion. Jones at 3rd and nobody out. Bottom of the 3rd inning, 3-1 on Raines. To the left. Full count. Two hits for the Nationals tonight. The homer by Concepcion and the triple here by Jones.
Well, you can see on that last shot where Robin Yount and Bobby Grich are playing. Of course, you can play back a little bit further on the artificial surface. That ball's going to get to you much quicker.
And it's outside for ball 4. Second walk given up by Eckersley. Runners at first and third with nobody out. And Pete Rose, who fly to left in the first inning, coming up.
Remember, coming into this game, Eckersley had only walked 23 on the season. Al emphasized his great control. But now, the All-Star game and the National League seeking to assume early command.
Infield looking for a double play. They'd give up a run if they're able to turn it. Raines got to go at first base.
Eckersley's got a better than average move over there, and the thing I think that makes Dennis's move valuable to him is he can throw from any position.
Raines not going, and the pitch misses. 1-0. Raines at first base. There's Jones at third. And Tim with 39 steals. Lonnie Smith is the leader of St. Louis, 41. Omar Moreno of Pittsburgh and Raines are next at 39. But of course, they all pale in comparison to Henderson with 84.
You fans can see the seams in the artificial carpet. Another matter of some controversy prior to this game.
There goes Raines, a huge jump and no throw. Just doing the wise thing, holding on. He had not a prayer.
Now that is the only problem that Dennis Eckersley will have, is he has that high leg kick. And boy, that is just inviting all kinds of trouble. And when you get a man at first base who can run a little bit and you have that high leg kick, there you see Raines, Eckersley starting. They have no chance whatsoever.
Dennis has another problem, getting the hitters out.
After he'd started the game by retiring the first 5 in a row. 1-1 the count. Rose taking outside for ball 2. 2-1.
Those artificial seams which you just saw laid before you and the more panoramic shot. Explain that problem here, Don.
Well, first of all, it's a very hard field, number one.
Rose lifting it in the air to right center field. Should be deep enough to score. Jones as Jackson makes the catch. Reggie throwing on in. And Rupert coming to the plate and makes it safely. Jackson with a good throw in from right center.
And it took the speed of Rupert Jones to beat the tag because Reggie made one whale of a throw.
He really did.
He did. A happy National League dugout. Rose gets it deep enough. Jackson laying back well. Now watch Reggie get into position. Here he comes now making the catch. And his throw is right there to Carlton Fisk, who had to go out to meet it so he would not be short-hopped. And Rupert Jones, as he comes around to the other side of the batter's box, you can see him coming around and Fisk going out to make the catch of the ball in the air. But then the tag is too late. Doug Harvey right there in good position to make the call.
I haven't seen Reggie make a throw like that in years.
I was just going to say the same thing.
In years.
Been a long time. Been a long time.
Reggie's always had a good arm. He's always had a good arm. That's very true. It's just a question of trying to get, not having to be so erratic at times.
Andre Dawson at the plate and a throw back to second.
Now, I'll tell you what Bobby Grich will do as he talks with the second base umpire, John McSherry. If he sees a man coming back head first, that he will just use that as a gauge because he'll put the pickoff play on again. And then when the pickoff play is made, he goes down to that right knee, and they cannot get back in there. He's a tough competitor out there. Boy, he'll put his nose right in the dirt with you.
Dawson standing in. National League leading 3-1. 1 out in the third. Raines at second. Out away. 0-1 the count. The American League got on top in the first. Wilson, but a home run by Concepcion with a man on in the second, and a triple by Jones and a sacrifice fly by Rose here in the third. 3-1 National League. 0-2.
Eckersley ought to be in as good a shape to start this game as anybody. He pitched last Friday, went 9 innings. He lost that ball game by a score of 4-1. As a matter of fact, all 4 of the starters on the American League club lost their last outing. Eckersley and Bannister pitched Friday, Guidry Saturday, and Clancy on Sunday.
Dennis to the plate 0-2, and a check swing foul over by the commissioner's box. Louis just sort of waving a hand at that one as it went by. Sort of like Howard in the booth, Don.
Howard's safe here. We're too far from home plate. He doesn't have to worry about the foul balls here.
And Butch Hobson's not up.
Yeah, right. At Fenway. There's another little check swing bouncer down to Gretsch at second base. They get him at first for the out, and on the plate, Tim. And up comes Ray Knight. For the first time, Schmidt coming out of the game after he went 0 for 1. Fisk and Eckersley get together.
What a year he's having.
Solid player.
To hit the way he's hitting in the Astrodome, you're hitting.
That's right. You can always throw out the home run stats for the Astros. You're not going to hit very many down there. Knight, third in the league in hitting. Raines at third. Great speed. 2 down. 0-1. This place would erupt if Tim decides to steal home.
Well, Dennis Eckersley knows about the speed of Raines. You see, he's not pitching from a windup. He's going to continue to work out of that stretch, so that'll make it a little bit tougher. And, of course, Brett has to play back at third, and you've got Yount having to play a little deeper at short, so that whole left side is back.
Knight popping it up. Bobby Gretsch getting underneath it, and that's that in the third inning. Triple by Jones pays a dividend. A run. Leave 1-3. It's 3-1 National League. Gary Carter earlier, we saw Sam Shell of Gillette, the company that conducted the All-Star balloting, giving Gary his trophy. Top vote getter. Think back last year, Cleveland, right after the strike was over. Started with the All-Star game. And off Ken Forsch of the Angels, he hit this one in the 5th inning. And then he duplicated the feat with Ron Davis, then of the Yankees on the mound. 2 home runs last year at Municipal Stadium. And the All-Star Game MVP, Gary Carter of the Expos. The Winfield Foundation in evidence here in Montreal. Dave buying some seats. Willie Wilson comes into the game now in center field out of Kansas City. Bill hits second. Freddie Lynn is out of the game. And Jim Clancy of the Toronto Blue Jays. 500 pitcher this season, 3.56 ERA. On to work. So Gary Carter to lead off. Murphy and Concepcion to follow. 3-1 National League, bottom of the 4th inning. 1-0. Carter grounded out in the second. 2-0 the count. Snyder, the honorary captain for the National League, gets to coach 1 inning at first base. There he is on the line. My boyhood idol. Love that man.
His wife Beverly's in town with him.
Grounded to short. Yount to Cooper. 1 away. Downstairs, let's check in with Bob Uecker and Steve Rogers.
All right, Al, thank you very much. And Steve Rogers, a good performance tonight. You left with the lead. What about the Expos this year, Steve?
Well, I tell you what, we've been a little inconsistent the first half, but we know we've got a heck of a lot more talent than the way we've played.
And what about this is Ice Pack, folks?
Well, I tell you what, this is believed in and has had results by the Montreal Expos, and so we ice down after every time we throw.
Steve, nice going tonight. Al, back to you.
All right, you. Dale Murphy is the batter for the National League with 1 out. Bases empty in the bottom of the 4th inning. Murphy walked, and he was aboard when Concepcion homered in the 2nd.
You know, I think what's one of the big parts and one of the fun parts about the All-Star game, and a fan that ever thinking about coming to any All-Star game, if you get a ticket, get there early and watch batting practice. Boy, they put on quite a show. This young man right here can put on a show for you.
As a matter of fact, yesterday they took batting practice on an off day for all the clubs, of course, during the All-Star break. 28,000 people showed up.
That's right. They had an open workout for both clubs, and they had a good crowd here.
2-2. That should become traditional, no matter where the All-Star game is held. Floyd Bannister of Seattle. What a marvelous year for the Mariners thus far, loosening up for the American League. Crazy races right now. National League West looks like it's upside down. Seattle's in the thick of things in the American West. Foul back. Nancy Murphy and the younger Murphys enjoying the All-Star game in Montreal. Their man leading the major right field and deep at play. Jackson is back. Reggie has it. 2 gone here in the 4th inning.
You know, Al, you're talking about those pennant races, and the way it looks right now, the way things have gone through the first half, they're liable to stay that way right down to the final week of the season. You can have some good pennant races.
Well, people are starting to become believers in the teams they thought was cold.
That's right.
Atlanta, San Diego.
Atlanta has always finished strong, and now all of a sudden they have a super spring, and they get off to a good start. And if they can think positive the way that they finished in the last few years, they can be tough.
Dave Concepcion grounded sharply at handcuffs Cooper, but he stays with it. And a quick inning for Clancy. 1-2-3. We'll go to the 5th at Olympic Stadium. It's the Nationals 3 and the Americans 1.
The National League still leading the American League 3-1. We pick up the action in the bottom of the 6th inning in the 1982 All-Star Game right here on ESPN Classic.
Pete Rose, a very unforgettable moment took place in All-Star Game history back in 1970 in Cincinnati. And as we run it up here, I wonder if you'd talk about it and describe it.
Well, I'm running 3rd. Hickman got to hit the center, and I start to slide head first right there, but I saw I couldn't be safe because Fosse was blocking the plate, and it was my advantage because he was reaching for the ball, and I happened to hit him at the right time, and I scored the winning run in an extra inning ball game. And I missed 3 games, but unfortunately he separated his shoulder and played the next month with that, and it sort of ruined his career. But I think you have to try to do anything. I think that was a clean slide because of the way he was positioned at the plate. You're no catcher, you know what I mean. And I didn't try to hurt anybody because he was at my house till 3 in the morning the night before, and I was just trying to be safe playing in Cincinnati.
Thank you, Pete. Back up to you.
Now that is a bird's eye view. Take a look. I hope they got a rope around the ankle.
It's a little scary. We never had that at the Olympics.
Well, from way up there, that tiny little figure down at the plate looks tiny to them, but it's Al Oliver, and he is a big man in Montreal. And on the mound, Quisenberry now. From Kansas City, the Royals submarining right-hander, and that's chopped down the line. It's going to go toward the corner. Al Oliver turns, and he's going to second. The ball gets loose. He's turning second base and going to third. And he's there standing. Did the seam play a role there? I don't know. The ball took a funny squirt. Well, you look at it again. There's just a high Baltimore chop right there over the head of Buddy Bell. Now watch that little hop. You see Henderson get over. He just absolutely ran by the ball. They're coming off of the ground in front of home plate, over the head of Bell, down the line, and the speed of Ricky Henderson took him by the ball. He never even got a glove on it. So that is the second triple in the ball game for the National Leaguers, and Andre Dawson now with an opportunity to increase the National League lead. Nobody out, and Oliver at third. And the pitch is low inside. Dan Quisenberry is on the mound. That's his record on the year. And another Royal has been inserted into the lineup. Frank White is playing at second base, relieving Bobby Grich of the California Angels. And Dawson almost stepped right into that pitch. You'll look at some hitters, and when they try and gauge Quisenberry, you try and pick up a spot on a pitcher to where you can find the ball. As you look at Oliver at third, a lot of hitters will go right to his knee because that's where that ball is really looks like it's coming out of. That's it on the ground to the right side. That's going to hold the runner at third as Eddie Murray makes the play. So 1 out, and Oliver is still at the turn. Jim Fanning of Montreal coaching at first, and John McNamara of Cincinnati at third.
If the American League is to do anything at all in this game, they've got to reverse a remarkable trend against them in the late innings of prior All-Star games. From the 7th inning through the 9th in the recent years, they have been almost totally inept. And now they're going to have to come from behind once again, as you just looked at Frank White, the new second baseman of Kansas City.
Oh, Georgia boy up there, Ray Knight. And here's a guy I think's a battler. He's another one who'll get down and scuffle with you. Yes, he will. And, you know, he's really kind of a little bit out of position right now as far as this 1982 season is going, because he's been over at third base a lot. I mean, at first base for Houston. That's a foul ball in the photographer's corner past the dugout. There's the Astros with Art Howe at third and Ray Knight at first. Gary Carter is the on-deck man. Knight late with it. Ray Knight strikes out. Well, that goes back to a statement that I can think of the California Angel manager Gene Mauch making to me. He says one thing that he likes about Quisenberry, and you've got to respect him for it, he can close you down in the late innings. He knows how to pitch, especially the ninth. He can shut the door on you. The Expos catcher, Gary Carter. Secretary of State designate George Shultz testified today before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee on the first day of his confirmation hearings. Nightline tonight focuses on Shultz's views of American foreign policy interest and on the influence of the multinational corporations on foreign policy making. Nightline immediately following your local news tonight. Didn't catch it. Oliver scores from third, and it's a 4-1 ball game. Willie Wilson did not get a good jump on the ball at all.
He certainly didn't, and it's still another evidence of the National League doing what they have to do when they have to do it. Big, big insurance run.
Great effort right here by Wilson, and boy, it's hard diving on that artificial surface. Carter comes out now, and Tony Pena goes in to run for him. The young catcher from Pittsburgh. Boy, is he a dandy. National now with 5 base hits. Don't ever think catchers can't run either with Mr. Pena. This guy can haul it.
How do you like the way the Pirates have come?
Charging. That's foul ball. Big figure in their resurgence.
Pena, Dale Berra.
Dale Berra, absolutely.
The return of Dave Parker, who had 2 home runs in 1 game. Just a few
remarkable pitching by Don Robinson.
Oh, yes.
It's really been something.
Oh, I could see that happening the first week of February at Bradenton. His arm clearly was right.
Murphy swings and misses. Quisenberry, of course, like Kent Tekulve, brings the ball underneath. Tekulve, in explaining the physiology of it, says it's the least demanding pitching motion because the muscles continue to rest on the bone structure. You don't relieve them off. The runner going, Pena in there, safe. what I was talking about. Don't ever think that catchers can't run, because this young man can take off and steal any base for you. He just comes out from underneath his cap, and you've got that gun of Parrish behind the plate. He didn't get a clean throw away. It was a little bit to the inside, and White had to come back, and he had to come around, and Billy Martin's going to go out and talk with McSherry. There you can take another peek at it. Whether Billy thinks he got him before he got to the bag, that's close call right there. But I believe McSherry could have been blocked out a little bit with a body of Pena.
Well, McSherry had but he was coming from looking at it from the same angle that Martin was.
Martin's had a lot of that kind of action this year. Nothing but frustration. Watch closely. I don't know. Close call.
So Pena is off second base, and Quisenberry breaks it off outside to Dale Murphy.
Maybe he can get a little life into this American League bunch by that kind of...
Probably what he had.
Yeah, so...
Here's another big kid that's fun to watch in the batting cage.
Yes, sir.
What does the ball jump when he hits it? That's a sharp shot for the third baseman, Bell. Bell scoops it and throws it and gets him just barely. So the Nationals add their lead to make it a 4-1. Dave Winfield comes to the plate now. Eddie Murray is scheduled to follow. Then the shortstop spot for Robin Yount. Fernando Valenzuela is out on the mound. He didn't take much time to warm up. But what a story this young fellow was last year. He's in there with a strike on his very first pitch in one of the guttiest pitching performances I have ever seen in my life last year in the Friday night game of the World Series.
Hell, I get a kick out of watching Tony Pena behind the plate. Watch how he gets down.
Scrooge just dives.
That was not an impressive swing.
That screwball can create that type of a swing.
Well, they might be flirting with that record.
Very easily.
Winfield behind at 2 strikes. And Valenzuela gets him to foul it back. You're talking about late innings a moment ago, Howard. In the last 10 All-Star games, the National League has outscored the American League 61-30. And the American League, there's Ozzie Smith, the shortstop. The American League has scored in the final 3 innings of the last 10 games only 2 times.
That's the trend I talked about.
Sort of hands it out to third base. Throw is in the dirt. And up comes Oliver for the out. And let's go down to Bob Uecker.
Dave, obviously they voted you in for your power, a 2-runner. Huh?
Well, I was really was looking for something in, and he throws some fastball up and in. I mean, slider up and in. I was looking for, and I got a good, good contact with the ball, and I know when I hit it, the ball was out.
You gave a good trot. You were happy coming around the bases.
Of course, yeah. We get the lead 2-1, and I'm just proud to be here, and I'm happy to hit a home run for the National League.
Back to you, Keith.
Thank you, Bobby.
As you watch Valenzuela, Keith, you talked about that gutsy Friday night performance in the World Series last year. Give Lasorda credit for staying with him.
That's right.
Anybody else might well have taken him out. They were down 2-0 to the Yankees then in the World Series. The Yankees had been hitting Fernando all night, but he stayed with them, and finally it paid off. Turned the series around.
Eddie Murray checks, and it's fouled at the plate. Here's Tom Lasorda, Chuck Tanner, manager of the Pirates. And the count is 2 balls and 1 strike to Eddie Murray. Robin Yount on deck. Valenzuela misses just inside. Fingers heating up in the American League pen, and he should be next. 3-1 pitch. too.
You know, that's one thing about Valenzuela, too. You might think about the screwball, but he's got a much better than average fastball. And if you start looking for one, he can sneak that fastball by you just like he just did to Eddie Murray.
As far as pitching ability, knowing how to pitch, he's 20 going on 40. 21 going on 40. But this time, he misses inside to Murray. And Murray gets a free pass to first base with one out. Yount comes to the plate. And again, we have action down in the National League bullpen. Steve Howe gets up, and so does Greg Minton. Valenzuela is in there with a strike to Robin Yount.
Lee McPhail, the American League president, must be going out of his mind.
Well, they're going to get tired of it. They're going to get their hackles up, and I don't know how. Maybe Lee ought to take the ploy of Warren Giles a few years ago and jump up on the locker box and do some more rating.
That's a very, very important point you just made. Giles changed the whole National League attitude. Remember, in the early going, the American League had been predominant in the All-Star game play. Giles took it seriously.
Well, I remember a meeting he had that first game in 1959.
Yount hits a sharp shot down third. Good play by Knight. He goes to second to get the lead man. He went the short way. Might have been his only opportunity. Good play by the Astro third baseman.
It sure is, because when that ball comes off the carpet and can hit the dirt, it can also flatten out on you. He throws Eddie Murray out by 25 feet. I don't know what happened there
at all. I don't know what Murray was doing.
He might have thought it was going foul. He might not have picked the ball up.
What did Giles tell you guys in 59?
Well, he just told us that, boys, he says, we're not here to lose. He says, we're here to win. And he said, you can have all the fun you want. But he says, when you go across the lines, let's win it.
Murray on the ground ball at third. He went back to first base. And by that time, it was too late.
There's what a left-hander's move can do to a base runner.
That's true, but this team looks utterly lackluster, Don. I don't see any spark, any fire the whole night.
Well, good pitching will do it, Howard, and the National League has got excellent pitching tonight.
Hal McRae is up there, the DH and outfielder for Kansas City. And Chitty.
You know, you're looking at a right-hander, Rogers, a left-hander, Carlton, a right-hander with a good heater in Soto, a left-hander in Valenzuela. You're back and forth all the time. Tommy's got the pitching staff set up well. But, on the other hand, the American League has had certainly decent pitching. They've out-hit him 8-6, but it's been that one pitch so far to Concepcion that's been the difference.
Well, don't throw out the Rupert Jones triple.
No, you can't do that, not at all.
That gave him the insurance run.
Incidentally, the Al Oliver triple, it was originally called, it's been changed
to a double and an error.
Right.
Figured that.
The count is 3-1 now to Hal McRae. Walked in. So that's the second walk in the inning by Fernando Valenzuela. And he will pitch next to Lance Parrish as Tom Lasorda heads to the mound. He's got Howe and Minton out in the pit. And he's going to make a change. He's walking and looking, and looks to me like he has got the hook with him.
Well, he's got a man there that can tie it up in a hurry, because Lance Parrish right now is the tying run standing at home plate.
Fernando pitched 6 innings on Sunday, and he's going to make the change. He's going to the right-hander, Greg Minton. So, while we're waiting for Minton to come into the ball game, let's talk about Yogi. Yogi Berra's career marked by so many great moments. But in all-star play, Yogi hit only 1 home run. Still, that memory lives with him.
My favorite class is 1959 when I hit a home run off a young Don Drysdale. and I was voted the most valuable player in that game, in that All-Star game.
Comes on now for the National League. He is the 5th pitcher. His numbers are reflected there, and he's a horse. He'll be working to Lance Parrish.
He's a horse, huh?
Yeah.
Horse and a half in my count.
Big man for Greg Robinson out in San Francisco. Sawed it off, but it's bounced over his head. Look at the play by Smith. Holy cow, look at that.
Look at that National League dugout, too. And anybody but Ozzie Smith, well, he's there. And anybody running but Parrish, that might be a base hit. He jams him, saws him off over the head of Minton. You saw he got the ball exactly where he wanted. Look at that play by Smith, Keith.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is a big league play. We'll be back.
Now we're in the top of the 9th inning, and the National League still leads the American League 4-1 in the 1982 All-Star Game, right here on ESPN Classic.
It is Ben Ogilvie swinging a bat there, standing just in front of John Stearns, who is now catching the New York Mets, and Lonnie Smith has gone out into left field, replacing Dusty Baker.
There's a sign here in the arena, Keith, that says the smoked meat, referring, I suppose, to the American League.
One of the hammer throwers off the Milwaukee Brewers, stands in and looks at a strike from Greg Minton. Howe and Hume remain in the bullpen for the National League.
Well, that's just what I said before, how Tommy set up that pitching rotation. Rogers a right-hander, Carlton a left-hander, Soto a right-hander, Valenzuela left-hander, Minton right-hander, and he's got a right and a left going in the bullpen.
Ogilvie took it, and it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. Two balls and 2 strikes.
Ben Ogilvie's another man who is not that big when you stand alongside of him, but he will hit a ball as far as any man alive.
It's all in his wrists, arms.
Lifted out to the left side for Lonnie Smith. 1 out. And that'll bring up Rickey Henderson. Secretary of State designate George Shultz testifying today before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee on the first day of his confirmation hearings. And Nightline tonight, immediately following your late local news, will focus on Shultz's views of American foreign policy interests.
The Secretary-designate is a truly remarkable man who is not without experience in sports world. As Dean of the Chicago Graduate School of Business, he encouraged Willie Davis, the all-time Packer great defensive end, to stay in school and get his graduate degree. And it proved out for Willie Davis. He did just that. Under the Secretary-designate's encouragement, he's become one of the most successful businessmen in America.
There he is. And a heck of a guy. Rickey Henderson stays in the ball game with 1 out, 2 balls and no strikes. And you've got Kent Hrbek standing in the on-deck circle. So the big youngster from Minnesota, Hrbek, is out swinging a bat.
And you've got Billy Martin in the dugout, who's grown accustomed to this pace.
What's Billy? Billy's 0-2, and Tommy Lasorda's 2-0. Billy down in the dugout. There's not much you can do if you don't get runs.
3 balls and 1 strike. And Henderson walks.
All right.
And so that brings up Kent Hrbek in his first Major League game. This youngster hit a home run in the 12th inning off George Frazier to beat the Yankees at Yankee Stadium in 1981. Remember this shot? I'm sure many of you watching saw it. He got all of it and nailed it out of sight. And what a big, good-looking kid he is. As Lasorda goes to the mound now to talk to Minton, and he's going to go to the left-hander, Steve Howe. So Lasorda using his pitching staff. As the big left-handed swinging fella from Minnesota comes up, Howe comes in. The Los Angeles bullpen has not had a great season. And despite those impressive numbers there for Steve Howe, he has not been as sharp as we have seen him in times past, though he has pulled himself together and says now he feels good and has regained the Bulldog confidence that any successful relief pitcher has got to have. And so here is young Kent Hrbek of the Minnesota Twins. And look at that. Just a year ago was in Class A ball. High fly ball, short center field. Dawson coming in. Calls off the second baseman Saxon, makes the catch. Base runner Henderson stays at first base. So Hrbek didn't give Henderson any time to dance around at first. What with the left-hander on the mound, he might not have been doing much dancing anyway. And you've got 2 out, just 1 more to go for the National League, and they will have won 19 of the last 20 and 11 in a row.
And Dave Concepcion is the MVP, as expected.
Here's Tom Hume now coming to the mound. Buddy Bell is, let's see. Well, while Hume is coming in, let us take this time out with a 4-1 lead. Tom Hume of the Cincinnati Reds is on the mound, and he becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the 7th pitcher for the National League, and he'll be pitching to Buddy Bell while he warms up. Let me footnote that moment you just saw about what we have done and what we will be doing. Saturday and Sunday, the British Open from Troon, U.S. Women's Open out of Sacramento, July 24 and 25. The Sports Festival, the National Sports Festival in Indianapolis this year, late July and early August. And the PGA Championships, August 6 and 8. There's Toby Harrah.
Interesting, the man with the most base hits in the big leagues never at bat. Maybe symbolic.
Well, let's see what Mr. Hume can do with Mr. Bell. 1 out away from nailing it down. Tom is high with his first pitch for ball 1. That's lifted to the right side. Right fielder Murphy toward the line. Game's over. The National League continues to dominate the All-Star game. Davy Concepcion, shortstop for the National League, Cincinnati Reds, is the most valuable player, the line scorer in the ball game. The National League winning it by a final score of 4-1. Rogers, the winning pitcher, the save to Hume. Eckersley lost it. Concepcion, the home run. Final score, National League 4, American League 1.